And this is Rusty Bird. It's the Kirk Byrd Show, continuing our coverage of VHSL high school football. We're getting right there to it. We just finished the regional finals. Now we're in the semifinals for the state. And y'all been asking for it, so we got it. We got coverage of the 804 with my man Larry the Legend from BallinVA. Welcome to the show, Larry.
About damn time.
And yes. And we got the 540 represented by my man, Bob Alvis from the Sports Buffet. Bob is also the voice of Heritage High School sports. Welcome to the show, Bob.
I got one leg in the 540, one leg in the 434, so I'm covered on both bases.
Oh, okay. All right. And then, of course, we brought back Coach Troy Taylor. He's the head coach of LC Bird. He was in the regional final against Highland Springs. He knows all things 804, and he knows the whole state. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks for having me back, y'all.
Yo, if y'all don't remember, Coach Troy is cool. Like, that's my man. I love it. Look, on our show, I thought he was cool and funny, and he was on BallinVA breaking it down for you. And this brother was awesome. Right. You know he got some soul because he was the quarterback's coach at Virginia Union. My man.
That's right. Got me my most views.
Yep.
All right. So the reason why we have these guests on is we didn't have any 804 experts. So we've got Coach Taylor, who has played many of the teams. He's played Highland Springs. And we're going to talk about that game first with Stonebridge. And then Larry, of course, knows everybody down there. And then Bob has the sportscast, and he's the voice of Heritage. We're going to go that game. We're going to review second. So all you Heritage Christiansburg people, make sure you subscribe to us because we're going to start covering things down there more. Get some great programs down there. Patrick Henry Roanoke, great in basketball this year, football. And then Bob also is a graduate of where'd you graduate? You're Jefferson Forest, right?
They gave me a diploma somehow. I don't know how they did it, but they gave me one.
So what we would like is for everybody to subscribe to the Kirk Byrd Show. It's easiest on your phone. So if you have a YouTube account, we'll see you subscribe. If you don't, you're still a subscriber. Now, I want to get.
And if you subscribe, you can press the alerts and get notified of when we're premiering something. Like today, we don't just throw it all out the first day. Today, what did we premiere, Kirk? We put out there the
Fairfax and
Loudoun County.
Fairfax and Loudoun County. We talked about Kettle Run. So you can hit the bell icon. Now, Bob, I want to give you a quick minute to plug, before we get started, to plug your podcast. Tell everybody how they can find it and sign up. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I put a lot on my Twitter account. It's the Sports Buffet, no spaces. The word "the," not the letter V, but THE. And you can hear that. I also publicize when I'm doing games, and it's going to be a big one on Saturday. A rare doubleheader at City Stadium. I'll be doing the first game.
Right. Yeah. Big day.
Oh, wow. Both games are there?
Yeah.
Yep. Noon. It'll be Heritage in Christiansburg. Then they'll clear out everyone, and then they can come back at 5 for EC Glass and Kettle Run.
Wow.
And if both teams win, they're going to essentially have home games at Liberty. So.
Yep.
All right, Larry, tell us about BallinVA, one of my favorites. Love it.
Man, thank you. BallinVA. First of all, y'all can find me at Twitter at Larry, Lelry, Legend, on Twitter. On Instagram, I am BallinVA _podcast_804. And then, of course, on Facebook, you can find me at Larry Mary. I'm sorry, not Larry Mary, Lee Mary.
Lee Mary.
Lee Mary.
Hey, Larry, you got so many. I don't know whether it's Larry, Lee, but it's all good, man.
Look, let me tell you a quick backstory on that. I got
I know.
I got the same name as me.
The IRS, they can't find you that way. I got you.
Yeah.
I did want to point something out. We're getting ready to start getting sponsors. So Larry has a program already set up for advertising. So if you're in Richmond, that's his sweet spot, but also the other areas. And then Bob, I don't know if you're interested or not, but you can get in touch with these guys by the avenues that they just pointed out. So having
Hold on, let Larry finish. Larry's gonna finish. Go
he
ahead.
didn't finish? I'm sorry, Larry.
I cut him off because I just wanted to get in my IRS junk.
Yeah, but you can also find us on YouTube, like I said, BallinVA podcast, and then also Morissette Media. So that's what we put out content on.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's set the stage. We're going to go over 4 games, and we've already kind of gone over these, but we've got the 804 and the 540, 434 expertise. So
The best region in the state.
yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
and we got 804 winning too. So there you go. Let's start off with Highland Springs and Stonebridge. This is a great.
No, whoa. First, we've got the
You
man.
keep hold it. What are we doing?
Let's review Byrd versus Highland Springs. Let's review it. We got the man. Okay, come on. Coach Troy, tell us about your game because it was close
Hold on.
the first half.
Well, I listened to y'all last week, and I didn't even know if we should show up or not. But
We were right.
we,
We were right.
well, we tried to make it close.
Yeah.
We almost did that. We made about 6 seconds left in the first half. It was 7-0. We fumbled the ball and gave it back to them, and
Yeah.
they scored, made it 14-0. Then we went to halftime, and they made it 21-0. And then we threw the ball. They intercepted it, made 28-0. And I guess they must score one more time because somebody told me it was 35.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, when you're playing a great program like Highland Springs and Lauren Johnson, you can't make mistakes like that. And I mean, you got to play some pretty good football. And, hopefully we'll just get better and get ready for next year.
All right.
Like I was saying, I said to Coach earlier. So you guys are Class 5, and you were in the regional final. Now Highland Springs is moving up to Class 6.
Hallelujah.
So tell us.
I think they should just move straight to Division 1.
You're right. Make them.
Yeah.
Make them play the University of Richmond. Now, tell me, Coach, how you looking next year?
Well, our quarterback, Brad Hurt, he sustained an injury in game 4. He was a starter as a sophomore, so hopefully he'll be back ready to go next year. One of our tailbacks, Taylor, is coming back. Where's number 1? We got about 3 offensive linemen coming back. We got receiver number 2, Xavier Carpenter, plays linebacker 2. So that's what we got coming back on offense, and a fullback named Jakai Vaughn. And on defense, got Jakai Vaughn coming back. He'll be a junior. And then Moose Ramadan, he'll be a senior next year. There was 2 D linemen coming back. And then we got Xavier Carpenter, who plays linebacker, and DB corner Tyreek Collins, and Rashad Lewis, who plays DB. So, we have a half our starters coming back, and just looking forward to getting back to work after first year.
Well, we definitely will be having you back on the show, and we know we're looking for good things from you guys.
Yes,
so now
sir.
let's go ahead on, and you're an expert on this. You've played Highland Springs. A lot of these teams in that 804 area, and we've got a rematch. I've been calling these Class 5 games the Revenge Bowl. You got Green Run that lost to Maury last year, and Maury went on to the finals, and then Highland Springs lost to Stonebridge. Tell us, Coach, what anything that we should be looking for? What do you think of Highland Springs' chances of beating Stonebridge? I'll tell you, I was at the Stonebridge game, and I was just amazed to have seen how they beat Mountain View that way, because I saw them play Freedom, but that was only like the 3rd game of the year. And Stonebridge is very well coached. But what do you think about that matchup?
Well, I haven't seen Stonebridge this year. I watched the state semis games last year in the spring state championship when they played Highland Springs. So I don't know how Stonebridge compares. I mean, I know they're always good and they're always playing the state championship, but Highland Springs, you start with their offense. They got a quarterback there that's he's a Division I kid, Christian Martin, who's about 6'5", and then they got tailback Foster Powell, who, he's probably 5'10", 230 pounds. He's solid. We call him Jerome Bettis. Then, they hand it off to him, and then they pull it with the quarterback, and then, they'll throw the ball out there to one of those Division I receivers they got going to Virginia Tech, like number 2, Taki Heath. And before you know it, they're in the end zone. And the offensive line plays well, and defense, they got number 90 there going to UVA, the green kid.
Yep.
Their defensive line, their interior 2 D tackles. There's so many of them. There's like a 55, there's a 56. They roll them out there deep. They're all about maybe 6'2", 250 pounds. And those 2 interior D tackles, they get after it. The defensive end, he's tough, not his big kid. The 2 inside backers, number 4, number 11. 11 is the coach's son. He's a sophomore. He's been offered by everybody. And their back end, they got 2 Virginia Tech corners, and their safety is a pretty good player. They got nickel number 9. It's probably their best run stopper. So they're really good. They play great special teams. They're liable to block a kick or a punt anytime.
Okay. So we just want to tell Zach Thompson, Mickey's son, we're giving you a scouting report. He runs the defense for Stonebridge, and Patrick, Mickey's son, runs the offense. So that was a good overview, like scouting report. What would you say? Stonebridge is a very good team. They've got a good senior class. They've got juniors, and they're always good. They run, of course, the wing T. Their best player, Zeke Wimbush, who can play quarterback. He can play running back. He can play tight end. He can play wide receiver. And they'll mix it up. So they'll pass out of that wing T. But what advice do you have? Not advice, but what is the scouting report for what Stonebridge needs to do? And I want to get Larry to chime in too, because he knows the folks over at Highland Springs. What do they need to do? What does Stonebridge need to do to stop their offense? And then Larry, we'll let you take defense. What Stonebridge needs to do to overcome an incredible, like Coach said, an incredible defense with a bunch of players. So with that said, Coach Taylor, what does Stonebridge need to do on offense? You talked about a loaded, great defensive line, DBs. What do you think they need? Without knowing a lot of their strengths, what do you think they need to do?
Just from watching Stonebridge in the past, they're single wing and they can run the ball, but then they also play action and take shots and motion people and, hit people, I guess they play quarter coverage. So, the safeties have to read the run and also plan on the pass. So, Stonebridge, like you said, is well coached, and, they're going to have to play, real good football and just, limit their mistakes and, do what they do.
Okay. All right. So on the flip side, for that Stonebridge or Stonebridge stopping Highland Springs, of course, Christian Martin, his offers have picked up, because I was looking at Indiana Tech, UVA, Maryland, and he's going to get a lot more. He's a big kid. He plays hoops. By the way, he also came away from the Big Ten ACC Challenge tonight. No, just joking. What do you think Stonebridge needs to do on defense? With Larry, tell us about that offense. They got good running backs, great quarterback, great wideouts. This is just a great team. So if you were going to stop Highland Springs and nobody has, what would you do?
If I was Stonebridge on defense,
yeah,
that's what they need to pray. They need to pray.
They'll pray. Eddie Mason, pray. All right.
Yeah, because Highland Springs just got weapons, man. And like I said, you heard what Coach Troy said. He just alluded to it. He just, played those guys, man. They just got weapons, man. That's when you think that you're going to stop at that one thing, then they're going to come with doing something else.
Right.
And you just, for me, if I'm on defense, you're just gonna have to just play sound defense, man, and just try to keep their offense off the field. That's your best bet. Because if you let that offense pound you, that, like you said, Foster Powell, he's like a bulldozer, man. That guy just gonna just pound and pound and pound and pound, and he's gonna wear him out. So, you know what I told you the other day, man.
Yeah.
They just need to say a prayer, man, because I'm telling you right now, Highland Springs is on a mission. And if y'all looking at this and y'all look at me, looking very carefully on the screen right now, Stonebridge, they are coming and they are waiting for you. And I'm telling you, they haven't forgot what they went through last year. So I'm trying to tell you, you better, whatever you do, you better be ready, because I'm telling you, you make a mistake, it's going the other way.
Man, I'm in Leesburg. They could almost hear you. So y'all heard it. He's challenging you. He doesn't think you can win. And I know Coach Thompson's playing that card of, we're not going to win this year.
No, you got to respect him as the two-time defending champion. I'm not going to say that, but we know that the last 2 years that Stonebridge has gotten the best of Highland Springs. And Lauren Johnson, you know how he is. Coach Johnson is one of the best that we have in the game. So, they're not going to leave Division 5 with another loss to Stonebridge. That would just be devastating.
Okay, so I've got a question for Coach Taylor. If you had to pick between stopping the run or stopping the pass, and Larry, we know you're going to say if you stop one user, what would you pick, Coach? Because Stonebridge has got a good, solid defense, and Rusty saw him play most recently. Will give us an overview for the Highland Springs and Richmond Post. Coach Taylor, let's just say that you got to pick because you played him. And you played close in the first half. Would you try to stop? I know you want to stop both, but if you had to pick one, would it be the run or the pass?
Last time I saw Stonebridge play him, I think it was like in a 52 defense, and they put 7 guys in the box.
Yep.
And it all starts with number 3, that tailback. And if you don't stop him, the good thing about Lauren Johnson is he's going to keep running the ball.
Right.
Thank you.
And then once maybe you do tackle number 3, the tailback, then the quarterback's going to pull it. Now he's out on the perimeter. Then once they do that, then, throw the ball quick out to number 2, and then, he catches a hitch, and you better keep him in front of you. So, then you got number 1 and number 0, and you got the coach's son, number 8. So, it's some pretty good players there, but I think I'd probably say stop the run first and then limit the big plays.
So one of the things, that I was thinking about is Highland Springs has been very focused on getting back to this point. And when I saw the way that Stonebridge has made some changes, because when they played Freedom, they've changed quarterbacks since then, and they've made
the score of the Freedom game. What was the score of the Freedom game?
Nothing.
No, it was 36-13.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was Freedom's closest game. Only team one of the few teams that they didn't get 50, 60, 70, 80, or 100 points scored on them. But I'll say this is the thing about what I saw happen to Stonebridge when they played Freedom, and I wonder if this would happen to Highland Springs. They are so amped, they're so hyped, and they've been so used to dominating, running, or throwing. If they try some things and it doesn't work, like Stonebridge, they play good D. They're smart. They've got great coaching staff. They're familiar with each other over the last 15 years. All those Highland Springs kids going to be able to withstand not making the big plays or things happening, or them getting punched in the mouth, because that's what happened with Freedom. Freedom punched them in the mouth, and they were like, "What?" They just staggered. And the guy punched again, and the one thing I know is that Stonebridge is running that single wing, and I don't know if Highland Springs saw that this year. You can tell me, Coach, but that's not an easy offense to prepare for if you're only seeing it once or twice a year. Did Highland Springs see that this year?
Prince George, they were running some type of single wing super power toss offense, and I'm trying to think of who else like loads the box up. Most teams down here is like 11 personnel, like 1 back and 1 H back or tight end.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're a team like Highland Springs, I mean, just like Billy Mills. I mean, when Billy Mills knew he had to play Louisa, he had his JV team running the single wing. So, I mean, they know they got to play against the single wing, and I'm pretty sure that Coach Johnson prepares his team year round for that thing. I mean, so,
all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's single wing. I mean, it's Coach Thompson does what he does, and I mean, he hasn't changed it forever. And I mean, the guy's been probably like 15 to 20 state championships. So, I mean, it's just what is good about high school football. You know, it's a rivalry that is a state level rivalry. It's two of the state powers. And if you're a 5A team, you realize that if you're going to make it to the state championship, it goes through Stonebridge and it goes through the airport. It goes through Highland Springs.
Right.
So that's what's good about high school football in Virginia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Rusty, I want to give you the chance because you saw Stonebridge play against a very good Mountain View team. They were without their running back that's going to Syracuse, but and then I want to talk a little bit about Stonebridge, and we're on pace to go about an hour and a half, so we're going to have to pick it up. I mean, we don't have a production team. We're talking in my ear to things like that. So, Rusty, tell us about what you saw against Mountain View. They rolled over a very good team. I did not call that. Nobody did.
Yeah, Mountain View, they just look stunned. I mean, I know that they didn't have their D1 running back, but man, when they were getting punched in that first, and it was just like, I think it was 21-zip in the first quarter, and they just didn't know what to do. And I'll say this, like it's can be very frustrating. I'm telling you, when a team is, because a lot of teams will try to run and do single wing, and it's not, but the way Stonebridge has that thing down, it can be frustrating. Because they're the one team I see when they do it, they're consistently having that person that receives the ball do a 360, and you don't know where he's going, who has the ball. And it just looked, Mountain View looked like they had no clue. And as soon as they thought they figured it out, they went deep on them. Now, I just think, I'm going to tell you, to me, this is the game of the weekend. This is the game of the week of all the games in the entire state. And it's a lot of really good ones.
Yes.
A lot. I mean, that Green Run Maury game, the Class 4 games, they're going to be great. But this one, I think, is going to be extra special. And I think because both have great personnel, but they're also very well coached. And they're very experienced in playing each other over the last 15 years. They've played several for the state final, with Highland Springs getting the best of them most of the time. So I would just say this. I'm looking forward to it. I don't really care who wins because I like both programs. I've lived in both areas. I went to VCU. My brother's good friends with Lauren because they're at Virginia Tech together. And I remember when Lauren was up here coaching at which was then called Stonewall Jackson. And he had a lot of talent, did a great job coaching. But, we'll look, I'll just say this. Great team, great kids in both programs. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. So before we move to Heritage and Christiansburg, Bob with the Sports Buffet podcast is probably watching the game, but we haven't gotten him the ball. I just want to say real quick, I think that Highland Springs wants to run the ball because Stonebridge's defense is very good. Dom Duncan and Deuce Jeter. Deuce Jeter is going to
Bucknell,
yeah. So two good cornerbacks, two seniors. Miles Turpin, who may be the quarterback next year, is at safety, and then Micah Smith, who's going to Navy, is a defensive end. So I would say that they're probably going to be a little tougher on the pass defense and physicality with the line. And I know Highland Springs is very physical. Now on the offensive side with Stonebridge, they're going to show, man, they're going to put it out there because they're going to have to show a lot of different things. They're going to have a lot of people running the ball. So when Marquez is in, Troy Marquez is in, or not Troy, I'm sorry about that. Oh, it is Troy. So when Mario Suarez, hello. I got all these names. I was writing them down, so I didn't get them mixed up. Mario Suarez is healthy. When he's in a quarterback, he's more likely to pass. When Zeke Wimbush, number 2, I believe, or 3. He's athletic. He'll do all kinds of stuff. So watch out for him to run. And then they got like 4 or 5 guys that can run. They'll have 4 or 5 guys with 20 or 30 yards. So Zeke will run. They've got Colton Hinton, who's going to Furman. They've got Jordan Kaiser, very good kid, good strong run. And Troy Marquez. Sorry about that, Troy. Put you at quarterback. Troy Marquez is good also. So I
got
think
some basic analysis of what you just said. You just named a bunch of Division III, Division II, and one Group 5 or against Troy. Just named a bunch of Power 5 athletes that weren't even all seniors, bruh. But so that was some simple analysis.
that's why we play the game. That's
why we play the game, right?
Yeah, Al Groh. When Al Groh was the head coach of UVA, on his wall, he had the best players don't always make the best team, but the best team always wins.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I know one thing: Highland Springs D line in their box, which is like the inside backers, they do a good job of reading that offensive line. Who's pulling and who's going down, and they're very, very disciplined. They got Coach Hopkins there that played at Virginia Tech, and he coached that D line. So, in that single wing, I know you can't look in the backfield. You got to be able to, read the offensive linemen, and then those linebackers. They, sometimes I don't even know if they're blitzing or just reading it. They're just going, man. They do a good job of underkeying the front. So, it'll be a fun game to watch. I'll be watching it.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is this: is that I'm sure not Byrd, but I'm sure some teams, before they even get off the bus, they're already beat by Highland Springs because they're scared or they're not, they just don't think they have a chance. That's not going to be the case with Stonebridge. And
not at all.
That's not going to be the case with Stonebridge. Yeah. So anyway, all right, look, let's go ahead on and let's break down some of these other regions. We're blessed to have with us, the voice of Heritage, Bob from the Sports Buffet. Like this is, I mean, we got another real expert, and a lot of us don't know about Heritage, at least not this Heritage. It's about 3 or 4 heritages in the state of Virginia. We got one in Newport News, Richmond area, and then this one out west. So tell us a little bit about Heritage and the Christiansburg matchup, because I picked both of these teams to win, and I would, but I was a little unsure about Liberty Christian. So tell us a little bit about that, because that's a private school, right?
It's a VHSL member.
Yeah,
I'll say that now.
Right.
So they're in the Virginia High School League. I mean, they're not the most popular. LCA is not the most popular school around here because they have an attendance zone. Well, nobody kind of knows what it is except the LCA people. But I will say this: they're a very, very, very good football team. They have a 4-star running back, Gideon Davidson. Gideon got hobbled in the game against EC Glass at the end of the year, so he was not around for the playoffs, and they still were within a possession of being there on Saturday. So LCA is a very, very good football team. But Heritage, that's what you asked me about. That's why I'm here. It's a 3A school. They have a first-year senior quarterback. I call it the first-year senior because he didn't start last year, Hove Bateman. Over 1,000 rushing, over 1,000 passing. He's got weapons. Brad Bradley, the head coach of Heritage, has won a state championship at Heritage, won 2 at William Campbell, and was at Amelia for 1 year and took them to the state semifinals. Christiansburg, I don't know as much about them, to be honest with you, but I know they were 0-10 in 2017, 2-9 in 2018, and now they're in a state semifinal.
Wow.
I mean,
and they have a history though of being good in the past.
I want to say they played Briarwoods back in like the mid 2000s with Brendan Motley, who went on to play at Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when you play Briarwoods, that was a totally different game for a lot of people from around here. But I think Christiansburg is probably coming in as the underdog because I don't think a lot of people are talking about them as much. Heritage has played Dinwiddie, who's playing on Saturday. They've played EC Glass, who's playing on Saturday. They loaded that schedule up tough. They played LCA, who could easily have been playing on Saturday, but then if they were, Heritage wouldn't be. So, I mean, Heritage is a team that I think, I don't want to say the team of destiny because that's cliche and y'all will probably hang up on me, but they've got a good running back in Rajon Booker-Felder. They had another good running back in Zach Steele. he tore his ACL in the Brookville game, or had a knee injury that was not repairable for the year. I think it was a torn ACL. But you know, they do run a lot from the slot too. They'll run Tavion Clark, who's a sophomore, from the slot. Terrell Washington was Defensive Player of the Year in the Seminole District. He's a real big guy. Going to Virginia State next year. He'll kind of play at that halfback and that H-back, and can play tight end. He's a nice guy, but he's the guy I'd want with me in the alley because he'd be my protection.
So, Coach, you're going to be calling that game, correct?
I will be, yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So, yeah, we've been communicating with Christiansburg, the coach. So we're going to have him on. I don't know if we can get him on, Rusty. We may get him on this week, but yeah. So, Rusty, I picked Christiansburg, but I think everybody else picked Heritage. Is that correct?
I did pick Heritage at this level.
Right. So let's just go one step forward, and then we're going to come back to Richmond. And we got some 7-5-17. So anyway, and Rusty picked them to beat Dinwiddie. Is okay if Heritage wins or Christiansburg, and I know Heritage upset Phoebus a few years ago, and you probably might have an opinion on whether or not it was an upset, but they want to get a hold of Heritage. And that game will be a home game for Heritage, and it's a loaded Phoebus team. You know, what do you think about Heritage? That's going to be the best team Heritage faces. And I do want to point out that was a big win against Glass. I mean, Glass is a very good team. We're going to talk about that game too. But talk about the state championship and Christiansburg. We're not dismissing you. I picked you to win. But tell us about facing Phoebus. Sorry about that, Bob. Go ahead.
Hey, if you pick Christiansburg to win, you might be one of the only people, because I think they when they beat Lord Bottot last week, I think a lot of people viewed that as an upset. And you know, when nobody believes in you, I think that makes you a very dangerous and scary team. I will say this about Heritage. Brad Bradley is one of the best at preparation that I know, and he will break down film on a Friday night and come back for about 6 hours on Sunday. So I will tell you, he probably knows what Christiansburg third string offensive lineman eats for breakfast. I mean, the preparation level is deep. Funny that you mentioned the Heritage Phoebus game, because when they played in the state title, that was the first year I was doing Heritage football on the radio.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's talking about Phoebus. Like, you know, this game is just automatically for the state runner up. And when I look at the Phoebus schedule and look at their numbers, they're good. They're real good.
Yep.
But I'm never going to bet against Brad Bradley, because I like to have my shirt, my pants, and all my money in my pocket.
All right.
I hear you.
All right.
Love it.
I went to Phoebus. I don't know if you know that. And
Right.
they're arguably the best team in the state. Them and High.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Heritage, that's the next game. So if Heritage wins, and by the way, I'm only one of the only people. So if Christiansburg upsets, I'll win a lot of money. So, but we can talk about the state championships. So let's move. And by the way, you folks in Lynchburg and Montgomery County, Blacksburg's a good team down there too. I don't know if they've been good lately, but Blacksburg's always been good with Dave Christ, football coach. But please subscribe to us, the Kirk Byrd Show, the Sports Buffet with no spaces, and BallinVA or Morissette Media. You can find Larry. So, all right, back to, we got a 7-5-17 to talk about here. All right, and Rusty's picked Warwick to win. It says 7-5-7 bias. All right, Dinwiddie, great team, won in overtime against an incredible King George team. And so they're playing Warwick, up and coming team. Only loss is to Phoebus, and they played Phoebus tougher than anyone. So
What's the score of that game?
You know, I don't have it handy. I want to say Phoebus only beat them 30-0, something like that.
Oh.
Actually,
No,
Highland Springs score only 30.
Phoebus Warwick, I think, was 26 or 25.
Yeah. Actually, the Hampton Crabbers played Phoebus the toughest. Phoebus had an off day, but why don't we just, Rusty and I can chime in about Warwick, but Larry, let's talk about Dinwiddie. Great team, Coach Billy Miles. They've got one of the, if not the best sophomore in the state, one of the best, probably going to be a national recruit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Dinwiddie? And they got a very hostile environment that you go to down there. What is it, southwest of Richmond, off of 85? Larry?
Well, what I'm gonna do, because I asked Coach Troy Taylor to come on, and he came on with us, and he knows more about Dinwiddie, so I'm gonna defer to him because he's, he knows Coach Billy Mills very well. So I want to defer to Coach first.
Right.
Yeah,
Respectfully.
we scrimmaged them at the beginning of the year, and they only beat us 6-0. So I guess that's something to hang your hat on. That quarterback they got.
Yeah, I was
They're
at that
playing
scrimmage.
Warwick. Yeah, they when we scrimmaged Benedictine before them, but the quarterback that they got there at Dinwiddie, I mean, they're playing Warwick. I mean, he kind of looks like Michael Vick. I mean, that's kind of like blasphemous to say in Virginia, but this kid is, and he looks like a big time tailback. I mean, he's 6 foot, 200 pounds, and I mean, he looks like the Under Armour mannequin. And he can run, man. He's good. And Billy Mills, he runs one of the best programs. I mean, he's just like some of those other coaches y'all mentioned, Lauren Johnson and Brad Bradley. And, these kids in Dinwiddie, I mean, he's been there since 2005 as the head football coach. I think he left Rockbridge to go there. And, now he's coaching guys who I think maybe dad even played for them. And, he's got it rolling. They're not a particularly big football team, but they're very tough. And they're in the weight room, probably lifting weights right now. They have a real big offensive lineman. I think he's got an East Carolina offer. He's a big kid. He looks like Morgan Moses, 6'7", 300 pounds. And they play good defense. And they're going to line up the way they line up. And they're going to play their deal. And, Coach Mills, he's like from the Tony Franklin school of like the system and, RPOs and screens and running the quarterback and, running the running back and, fast paced, no huddle offense. So I don't know much about Warwick, but I know a lot about that cannon that they shoot off at Dinwiddie.
We all know about that.
Used to make me jump, and the horse running, and
I've heard about that. It's been on Facebook, man. They talking about that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rob was talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, I think they were. From what I heard, they were a field dressing a deer hanging up during the water.
They might be.
Yeah. Down there, man, you go to 85, whenever I go to Chapel Hill, Duke or whatever, it's like, man, there's nothing between Petersburg and South Hill. So
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So Warwick, very good team. They played a good schedule. Rusty's fraternity brother, same year, same pledge class, is the coach. So he hasn't won the national championship. But
I mean, that's great analysis.
Right. They're a good team. They're battle tested. Again, they played Phoebus close. That's saying something because not many people have.
I saw that score was 25-0.
Yeah. And then they've got a kid that everybody's talking about. You talk about Dinwiddie. His name is Messiah Delhomme, like Jake Delhomme. And he just got his first offer from Zon Burden at Duke. And Duke's doing well in Hampton Roads because of Zon Burden, Virginia Beach guy. But Warwick will be physical. They'll have good athletes. I don't know if it's the best athletes that Dinwiddie has seen, but they're very good athletes. And I think, like I said, I couldn't get in a scouting report on Warwick, but I would say this. I don't think they've been winning long enough to overcome this. Rusty has them overcoming this, but I like Dinwiddie to face the winner of the next game, which we're going to go into. Now, I want to give Rusty a chance to talk, and then we'll make predictions. So, Rusty, Warwick Raiders.
Michael, on the real, I'm pulling for Warwick. One, head coach, Coach Harrison is a fraternity brother, but I'm also a product of the Peninsula District. I lived in Hampton. I lived in Newport News as a kid growing up. And I just think it's good to see a Newport News team having success in football. Growing up down there, it's always really just been the Hampton City schools. For football and in basketball, it was Newport News. My brother was on the coaching staff for Heritage when they won the state championship in 2000 as a defensive coordinator. But other than that, they hadn't won since the 60s. So I'm just excited to see Newport News doing something with high school football. And I was a little reluctant to even really think they were that good. I mean, I thought that the Peninsula District was down. I thought some of their wins were a little shaky. And then the way they started the first round game against Hampton High School, and only beating them 22-12, I was like, I don't know. But then they beat Churchland, and Churchland is got a lot of really good athletes, some really, really good athletes and players. Not, from what I've heard, not quite as disciplined, but they beat them 21-7. But the one that got me is they beat Kings Fort. And for the last 2 years, I've heard all these 757 people talk about Kings Fort, and they in the Southeast and blah, 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 blah.
That's all they do is talk.
Talk.
Run their mouth.
Boy,
They win too.
Yeah, they win, but they ain't winning the last 12 years.
Right. And so
I said it.
And
27 titles in one city. There you go. All right. So,
but look,
27 titles in Hampton.
Just
you talking about yesterday.
Right.
So like y'all do
Right.
us. We talking about now in the last 10 to 12 years, and Coach Taylor's on here. We've been running y'all, we've been kicking y'all behind, and y'all know it. So we respect it, but y'all gonna put some respect on 804. I said it to the 75 people.
And Northern Virginia also. Northern Virginia.
But see, Northern Virginia ain't the problem. It's always the 757 and think that they got this, they got that, and they think that the 804 ain't got nothing when we've been kicking y'all behind.
You know what though?
That's the thing.
I was gonna say,
Larry.
That's old people.
Feel you. Just like I said in basketball state championship. But it's because we did so well for so long.
But that's it. It's the past. You gotta update your resume. We don't care about what you did in yesteryear.
All right, one of the things I'll point out.
We respect it, but the thing is, when we do it, y'all be like, oh, well, that was back then. We talk about now, and then when we throw it back at y'all, it's well, no. We've been kicking y'all behind. Byrd that won 3, Highland Springs that won 4, Thomasdale. So stop it with the capping. We respect Phoebus, we respect Hampton, but y'all gonna put some respect on the 804 today.
Well, one of the things I pointed out was, Larry, the kids that are playing high school football now, I don't think fall for that mystique, because
they don't.
Ronald Curry and Michael Vick are old guys now. They're in their 40s. So I think up here, Stonebridge used to always talk about, the teams in Richmond, and more importantly, the 757. I don't think that's there anymore. I don't think they're intimidated.
I totally agree.
In a lot of the schools. And that's just, it's people talking, like Tech UVA. It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all love, but we just want to let y'all know, just stop it. We don't care about all of that stuff. We just want y'all to know,
Larry,
the time is over.
I feel you, bro. But Dinwiddie just got to do it. Highland Springs just got to do it.
Dinwiddie didn't won.
They got to.
So, like I said, they ain't got it. They don't have nothing to prove. They've already done it.
All right.
But the problem is, we just got to just let y'all know that this is what it is now. The time is now.
All right.
We still doing it. Phoebus and Oscar Smith did win last year. So
that's all y'all got. That's all you got.
We not doing it. Okay.
That's all you got. And you saw what happened to Oscar Smith.
Maury.
All right. So Rusty picked Warwick. I picked Dinwiddie. Larry, who you got? Dinwiddie, Warwick. I'm
gonna do my 804 bias. Dinwiddie.
All right. Coach Taylor, the most knowledgeable Coach Taylor.
I don't know. I'm not taking Billy Mills. My great friend for a long time, so I can't not pick against Billy Mills.
Plus, they're gonna win. All right, Bob.
Tell us a little bit about Glass.
I saw Dinwiddie in week 2, so I'm going to go Dinwiddie as well.
Okay. Good deal.
Dinwiddie played Heritage-Lynchburg. Dinwiddie is super fast. I think their athletes are phenomenal, but I don't want to get into this little war right here that y'all have going. I'm going to stay on my little safe zone.
If Warwick wins, man, you're going to catch hell. All right.
Oh, I don't care.
I don't care either. Anyway, so the last game, and that's Kettle Run and EC Glass. Both fan bases. Please subscribe to our show. Now, I know you know plenty about EC Glass, Bob. You said it's going to be a doubleheader, 2 games at the same stadium, City Stadium. Tell us about Glass, who has an impressive record, but has 1 loss to Heritage.
1 loss to Heritage. It was a 12-0 game back in September. Funny story. Baseball stadium is right next door, and they had a playoff game in the afternoon. They had to move because Heritage and EC Glass is the biggest rivalry in these local parts. So I just walked from the baseball stadium over to the football stadium.
All right.
So EC Glass is pretty good, though. To make my story moot, EC Glass is pretty good. They've got a lot of good skill people. Their quarterback is George White. If you let him sit back in the pocket and throw, he can throw. It's weird. When you think of the term game manager, it's not a compliment to a quarterback, but George is a game manager who can also pass the football. They have a ton of skill people. Their defense is not bad. It's actually very good. I mean, giving up 12 points to Heritage is one of Heritage's low numbers all year. EC Glass beat a good Salem team last week, but, you know, I don't know much about Kettle Run, but I know Kettle Run's undefeated. And, you know, I don't know. If I had to pick, I wouldn't, just because I want to keep my safety in Lynchburg.
Let me say that I haven't seen Kettle Run this year. I saw them last year, and they are undefeated. I've been picking them along the way, but I don't think Kettle Run is in a very strong district at all. I mean, but they beat a very good Loudoun County team. You know, I'm pulling for Kettle Run just because I know so many. I mean, that school is right outside of Prince William County. It's Nokesville, which encompasses Brentsville, that's in the state semifinals against Phoebus, Patriot that just lost the regional final, and then Kettle Run. They're all within about a couple of miles of each other. And
one of them's a 6, one of them's a 4, and one of them's a 3. Go figure.
Yeah. But I would, if I had to bet money, I would probably bet on Glass. But I'm going to say this: I'm pulling for Kettle Run. I'm pulling for Warwick. But I would not be surprised if it was a Dinwiddie Glass final and Dinwiddie winning it all.
Okay. So, yeah,
I think that Warwick and Dinwiddie game is going to be better than what people think. It's going to be a really good game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kettle Run for you Glass fans out there, and I was Andre Kendrick. I couldn't get on the phone with him. I wanted to get a scouting report from Andre Kendrick, who's in the Glass Hall of Fame. So Kettle Run is a good skill player team. They got good wideouts, especially Jordan Tapscott, number 9, who is he just opened up his recruiting. Was going to go to VMI, and good sized kid, about 6 foot, 6'1". Had a spectacular one-handed catch on Saturday against a very good Loudoun County team. They're going to go to him a lot. So I would cheat a safety over there and take him out of it and make somebody else, and watch him on kickoff returns. He's dangerous, and they do reverses, and they watch film. They're going to know that. Their quarterback also plays defensive end, and that's Abram Chumley. He's really good.
Quarterback plays defensive end.
Yeah.
What team is that?
It's Kettle Run. That's what the Loudoun County coaches were saying after the game. What's he do? He's a big boy. He's a thick kid. He's probably about 5'11", 6 foot.
Just for a little history, I played quarterback at Bethel, and then they would throw me my arm pass, and then I went and played middle linebacker back in the day.
Yeah.
But I was also a wishbone quarterback, and I think that was that's like saying, okay, you play running back and linebacker, nobody cared.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but all the guys that thought they would, dishing it out, I got to get them back.
Yeah. So they can throw the ball, and they'll throw it, intermediate. They'll throw it deep. Tapscott and the others. So I would take away the pass, and I would try to shut Tapscott down. Now, as far as physicality, they're not that big. Loudoun County was much bigger, and it was just a point. It was just a matter of them executing more down the stretch. I switched to Kettle Run. I've been picking Glass, so I'm going to stay with that. I think Kettle Run is hot. They're a team of destiny, but I would not be surprised to see Glass win. And I think that whoever wins this game is going to lose to Dinwiddie. And if Warwick wins, which I don't think they will, I think they're a team of destiny. So, Bob, having said that about Kettle Run, very good skill team. The quarterback runs on a lot of delayed draws, or a quarterback draw, but you don't know it's going to be. It doesn't look like a quarterback run. What's your thoughts on their pass defense and how physical they are on defense?
I think Glass's defense, their defensive coordinator, Jermaine Johnson, I think Glass's defense will be up for the challenge and ready for it. The thing that I would think is maybe the X factor is, having seen EC Glass and Heritage as many times as I have this year, EC Glass has got exterior speed to where Heritage can kind of bust you up the gut with their speed. If Kettle Run can stop exterior speed and speed to the outside by Vari Gilbert, Marty Kittrell, and so many others from EC Glass, I think Kettle Run puts themselves in a decent chance. If Kettle Run has problems stopping the exterior speed, it could be a long day for the Kettle Run Indians down here in Lynchburg.
Okay. All right. So there we go. That's sporting report. All right. So, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say in summary, looks like it's a unanimous for Highland Springs. And then everybody's got Heritage except for me, Christiansburg. Everybody's got Dinwiddie except for Rusty, Warwick. And then EC Glass seems to be the consensus. One last question.
I'll take Glass.
All right. Yeah.
I think Glass will win, but I'm gonna pull for Kettle.
What's the most likely upset for these 804 teams and the 540, 434? What do you think, Bob? Biggest upset?
Kettle Run.
Kettle Run is the most likely out of all.
Kettle Run.
Okay.
Yeah, I would consider that an upset.
Yeah.
I would consider Warwick actually an upset.
Me too.
I would consider that an upset.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna roll out on this last one. Two things. Okay, so of all the games, not just these classes of 3, 4, 5, but it could be any in any matchup. What if you guys have your pick of any game to attend this weekend? Not because you're calling the game or because it's the closest to you, in your area, or you root for a certain. What do you think is the best matchup of all 12 semifinal games in the state this weekend?
Stonebridge and Highland Springs has got to be the best. I mean, if there's a better one, let me know, because I want to go to that one.
I totally agree. What about you?
I totally agree by far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob?
I mean, I'd want to go see Dinwiddie play again just because after week 2, I didn't get enough of seeing the Dinwiddie Generals, and I'd want to see them again. I don't see the big boys as much as you guys do, but I'll take my Dinwiddie Generals in 4A and go see them again.
Okay.
But I get to sleep in my own bed and wake up at Saturday morning at like 10 o'clock and go 5 minutes down the road to City Stadium and watch Heritage. So
we hear you.
That's my dream.
Where I am. What about you,
Right.
Kirk?
Oh, it's Highland Springs, Stonebridge. I mean, either, again, I know Highland Springs is favored, but Stonebridge will be ready. And
I really want to go to Highland Springs, Stonebridge, but it's like, am I going to deal with that Fredericksburg traffic? And then I'm going to have to deal with it coming back when Freedom Woodbridge is right down the street from me. And when I'm there, I get to sit in the press box.
Yep.
And no matter the weather, I'm comfortable.
Yeah, that probably be your best.
Another one-
I was at that branch game on Saturday too at Manchester. So I
Oh,
saw
wow,
that
okay.
game.
Yeah. My second choice would be Maury at Green Run. And Green Run's looking to get over the hump. Maury has won that matchup a number of years in a row. We all picking Green Run, but Maury's that's a great game. So that would be yeah. So
Okay.
all right.
And then my last question, and I posed this in other ones we had this week. I'm not being biased. I'm just going to go with these. These are the top 4 teams minus Trinity Episcopal in the state of Virginia, regardless of classification. Freedom number 1, Highland Springs number 2, Dinwiddie 3, and Phoebus 4. So if we are the BCS committee for the VHSL, we would have first round Freedom versus Phoebus and Highland Springs versus Dinwiddie. Let me know who you got winning the first round games, and then your champ, who do you think would win the overall Virginia State Championship?
I mean, has Phoebus played a close game all year? I mean, I know they beat Oscar Smith, which is basically like the New York Giants. Like
They beat them 56-0.
Yeah.
I don't think Oscar Smith was that good though.
Yeah. Warwick and Hampton played Phoebus pretty good, but Phoebus did not play well against Hampton. So
A rivalry game. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
used to be. So what do you think, Bob? Who you gonna with that? How would you rank them, and who would win the 14 playoff?
Well, based on the 14 playoff that y'all gave, I'm going to go Phoebus and Dinwiddie just because that's the matchup I think I would kind of like to see. Plus, if I see Phoebus next week, I'm expecting to see an NFL team out there that y'all have pumped up for me.
Jordan Mass, barring injury, might play on Sundays. Well, you also have the opportunity to rank them because I ranked them a little different. Larry, 804. What's up?
I can't go against Phoebus, man. I mean, Phoebus traditionally, man, you go back to the early 2000s, man. Phoebus has just been doing this year after year, decade after decade, man.
7 out of 11, man. I don't know if that.
Yeah, you cannot go against that, man. No matter who they have, was it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever. You can't go against Phoebus, man. So to me, I would roll with Phoebus over Freedom.
Okay, Coach Taylor.
Phoebus, I don't know how many state championships they have now. I know Coach D had 4, but I don't know how many they've won since then.
They have 8.
They won it last year.
Yeah.
Dinwiddie's got 1 state championship, and I know I think lost to Patrick Henry in the playoffs. So, I mean, Highland Springs lost in the state semis. They got 4 state championships. So who else was it? Freedom? I mean, I know Freedom has been blowing people out and everything.
It'll be
Freedom against Phoebus.
I mean, just traditionally, I mean, Phoebus has got the most state championships, and then Highland Springs, and then Dinwiddie, and then Freedom. But I haven't seen Freedom play. I just saw him play Manchester a few years ago.
They're good. They're good.
I would, and I've seen a lot of Freedom, and I've seen Phoebus live, and that would be an incredible game. But I think I would go with Freedom. This Freedom team is special. And I just think that the way they put up points and their defense, I mean, and the way they've handled really good teams, like they beat Stonebridge, they beat a bunch of playoff teams. And Phoebus is good, but I would give the edge to Freedom. And then I think it would be Highland Springs beating Dinwiddie. And at that point, I don't know who would win, but I'm going to still lean towards Freedom.
All right.
Overall.
So that is the last question. I'll do this. Highland Springs, number 1 seed, plays Dinwiddie, number 4 seed. Highland Springs wins. Phoebus and Freedom are interchangeable. I've got Phoebus 2, Freedom 3. I think it's a coin flip, but I would take Phoebus over Freedom. I'm not buying Freedom yet, even though I think they're going to win 6. And then Phoebus, Highland Springs. Slight edge to Highland Springs. Phoebus, I think they're more physical, so maybe a little bigger, but Phoebus has some weapons that would be hard to stop, but that's why they have hypotheticals. So having said that, all right, guys, thank you very much for coming on.
You guys have been great. Coach Try, I didn't know you were still at the office, bro. I'm sorry. You see, I'm still at the office. This is where the 5 and 6 state championship will be held, and that's just where I hang out, But thank you guys. Really, I really appreciate you guys, especially on such short notice. But look, our fans have been asking for 804-540-434, and we delivered, okay? So I appreciate you guys. Maybe we can have you back depending on the results of this week. I don't think Larry's going to show up if Warwick gets the dub. And
no, I don't do that. I don't do no running. I don't do
I know, man. I know.
I don't do no
But look,
running.
yeah, I love the discussion. What we did, y'all, is we just took the message board and made it live. So thanks again, Larry Legend. Thank you, Bob. Don't forget to check out the Sports Buffet, BallinVA, and our man, Coach Troy Taylor. Coach, I love the way you carry yourself. I don't know if you saw the other day, but we had another LC Byrd former athlete on. We had Chris Anderson, the play-by-play football analyst for the Spiders. He said he played there 1 year, but he was a few years ahead of you, I think.
Yeah.
He may be a year ahead of me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, cool. All right. So look, thanks again, guys. Look, thanks, Coach Taylor, Bob, Larry, and for my co-host, Kirk Hilliard, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are out.